I first visited Tbilisi, which is the capital city of Georgia, in November of 2013, when Monsignor Kozar, president of CNEWA, asked us to go. We had been dispatched to the Caucasus to learn more about the needs of the new orphans, the elderly, the pensioners, the aged, the infirmed. We were welcomed at the Harmony Center, and we went into this large room in the back. And there was, at the piano, a very sophisticated woman in her late 70s, playing Chopin beautifully. I was stunned at the quality of what I had heard. These people, it turns out, were penniless, living on less than $80 a month. School teachers, opera singers, opera coaches, voice instructors. There was a cultural attaché, and yes, classical pianists. They were all reduced to absolute dire, abject poverty. If they did not have the assistance of Caritas, they would have starved to death. And yet they were incredibly rich people with an innate dignity that could not be robbed. Afterward, we went into the soup kitchen. This was the highlight of their day. But imagine what their careers were like. Imagine what their past lives were like. In Armenia, we were in Gumri, and it had been destroyed in 1988 by the Great Spitak earthquake, it's called. We encountered cemeteries everywhere. These portraits are etched into the headstones, and you also have their stories. But what I noticed were the large numbers of children who died. Well, it turns out the parents of those children are still alive, but they have no families to care for them. And they're still living in the hovels that were created as temporary housing. Some of these people are survivors of the Armenian genocide. But again, $80 a month does not give you much to live on, even in northern Armenia. One wonders, what do they have to live for? How do they maintain their faith? Where's God in all of this? But God's there. The Armenian Caritas and Armenian Sisters of the Immaculate Conception, which receives support from CNEWA. They work on behalf of the elderly, spend whole days working with them, developing social programs for them, just listening to them. Those were grace-filled moments, because in all of that abject poverty, there was beauty there, and where there's beauty, there's God. And as a result, we came away profoundly moved by the tremendous faith and fortitude of the people. I just can't say enough good things about what we saw with both of those organizations, the Armenian Sisters, the Immaculate Conception, and Caritas. They're doing much to help, but they can't do it alone. So that's what we want to do. We need to provide these very fine organizations with the resources that we can make available so that the elderly can live with the dignity that they rightfully deserve.